Hi, this is Craig Proctor, the real #1 real estate coach, and you're listening to the Craig Proctor Podcast. Hi, this is Craig Proctor, and today we're with superstar agent Blake Cory, one of the top realtors in the state of California. Blake, how are you doing today?
Pretty good, Craig, pretty good. Happy anniversary.
I hear that. Tell everybody what you mean by that.
Yeah, so for all of our listeners out there, today is the 5-year anniversary that I got connected with you. Facebook reminded me of that, by the way. Facebook did. But it was 5 years ago today, actually. You and I got connected, and I actually came to my first super conference. So it's been a whirlwind of 5 years.
Boy, time goes by fast. 5 years. I actually saw that on Facebook this morning, and I gave you a little like on that. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself and then what you and I set out to do with these podcasts.
Yeah, so, a little bit about myself. 5 years ago today, it was probably one of the worst times of my life. So back in 2014, went through some big time trials and tribulations. I had been in real estate for a while. I mean, I was 19 years old, got my real estate license, joined this thing that was called like a team.
How did you even know to get into real estate at 19?
Well, the job that I had before this, I was actually my last actual job. I was a barista at Starbucks. And, people came in. I was 18 years old, and, mortgage guys would come in, real estate guys would come in, all kinds of business people would come in. And they would come in and they're
like, you got a great personality. You should
absolutely, get into real estate. Like, you can talk to anybody. Yeah. And you got a great personality, energy, you should get into real estate. And that's kind of what I did, because at that time, Greg, I wasn't in college. I was right out of high school, wasn't sure what I was going to do with life.
Right.
Had looked into...
pretty much all of us.
Yeah. I really loved working for Starbucks, but when I looked at how to go and make 6 figures in the industry, it was going to require me to get a master's degree in business. And I was like, how am I going to go to school full time? That's going to be another, 7 or 8 years by the time I can make $100,000 a year. And I'm 27, 28.
So you're telling me you've had all this success in real estate and your only prior training was Starbucks?
That's correct.
That's awesome. That's an awesome story. So you get into real estate. What happens then?
Yeah, so I get in real estate, get connected what was called a team. And what they did was, hey, you're young. Why don't you go hold open houses and do some door knocking, leave some flyers? They gave me the average direction that, the typical real estate broker, but this was a team leader at the time, gave me. So I didn't know any different. I just kept doing it. I was out there holding
did what they told you to do.
Did what they told me.
And you worked hard.
Worked really, really hard. And, to only the first year, only closed 3 houses, it was a lot of work. And so it just, I did that for a couple of years. And then quite honestly, I was about to give up. I was looking at it like, I cannot continue to do this. I'm out putting bandit signs out on street corners and knocking on doors. And
I'm glad you share that, because so many people listening to this, they struggle and they're like, they're almost ready to give up. And you don't lose as long as you keep trying. Right?
Yeah.
The minute you quit, you lose. And so what changed this? You're doing what they tell you to do. You're struggling. You're on the verge of maybe giving this up. What changed?
Yeah, so what most people don't know, I'd actually filled out the application back for community college to go back. It was already in. I was going to start the next semester to try and figure out what I wanted to do with my life. Then some really unfortunate circumstances happened in my personal life. My dad was in a head-on car collision that left him disabled. So I got to the point where he wasn't making any money anymore. My mom had a bunch of personal issues. So the house was folding in on itself. It was like the stack of cars.
Everything's coming down.
Everything's coming down. So the whole concept of going back to school went right out the window. I had to make real estate work, because real estate was the only vehicle that I could think of at that time that would give me the financial freedom to not only be able to support myself, but to be able to support and take care of them, because they were now almost like my kids that I need to take care of for the rest of their life.
So failure is not an option.
Failure is absolutely not an option. The exit door, that it doesn't exist. And so I had to make it work. And some things happened where I just struggled along and made just enough money during that time But then, that was when the market was down. I figured out how to do
What year is this?
This is 2008, 2009. And the market went down and, I figured out.
So you can't buy a break.
Oh no, the market's in a recession. To be honest with you, the market recession was actually a little bit of a break for me because growing up only knowing short sales in the real estate industry, I figured out how to make some money around it. Other traditional real estate agents didn't want to handle them. So they would hand them off to me and I could make enough money selling real estate to pay for some things. But it wasn't until the turn up in the marketplace where I began to really, really struggle because it went from a need seller situation to a want seller situation.
And you didn't know how to find those sellers that just wanted to instead of needed.
Yeah, so in 2011, I was making six figures and I was doing really well. I was really pumped about life. And 2014 went completely bankrupt during one of the best positive marketplaces in California. 30% gain in the market.
Interesting. So you were doing much better when the market was poor, and when the market started to turn around, your business started to fall apart.
Absolutely. I didn't know how to adjust.
So what happens then?
2014, I have to go. I'm back. I'm working from home. I just had a newborn, so I have here's my 5-month-old daughter, and I'm back door knocking, cold calling, and doing open houses, and somehow miraculously figure out how to make about $65,000 during that time to pay some of the bills, but it still wasn't enough money to pay for everything. So it was a really, really hard time.
So you're making a living, but you're not satisfied.
Yeah, well, $60,000 to $65,000 isn't quite a living in California, especially Southern California. But yeah, I figured out a way to do it. And then I always tell people, by the grace of God, a box blew open in my garage. You've heard this story a bunch of times where it was your super conference binder that was in a storage box in my garage.
Yeah, that is just fate that you stumbled onto my materials.
Yeah, it was this morning, right now we're here at the super conference live in Anaheim. And I'm getting ready. Obviously, in about an hour, I'm going to go on stage and talk all about social media stuff. But it was funny because this morning, my wife and I were going through some old emails looking for something. And I found an email reminder from 2011 from an agent friend of mine. We had a calendar invite on Google that said Paul and Blake regarding Craig Proctor.
Wow.
Yeah, November 4th of 2011, that was on my calendar. And it was Paul, my friend, that actually went to your super conference, got the binder, came back, and we were supposed to talk about it, but left it at my office. And then, years later, it ends up in a box, and 4 years later.
So you're literally just cleaning your garage,
Yeah.
and you stumble upon this, and you start reading it, and you decide to attend.
Yeah, well, I started reading it. I applied one of the principles in it on this thing called Facebook, because Facebook just had the ability to do this boost post.
I love it.
So I ran a classified ad and I boosted it, and I had buyers calling me.
And it worked.
Yeah, I did 3 deals off of that one ad, and I
Nice.
instantly called your office. I'm like, I'm in. Whatever there is, let me know, and I'm in. And that's how I ended up at a super conference, and the rest is history from there.
And what year was that in?
November 2014, I would have called your office because today is the 5 years from
5 years, that's
when
right.
I called your office.
Okay, so you get involved with the Craig Proctor system. What happens next?
Life completely changed. 2014, $65,000 in income. 2015, over $300,000 in income.
That's a massive quantum leap.
It was the most money I ever made in my life. Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it. And you awarded me Rookie of the Year because came out and worked hard and applied all of your principles, bought completely in to direct response.
Well, you've heard me say this before, but you kind of got this right out of the gate. Like you sort of got the picture right away, and you were all over this.
Yeah.
You just need someone to show you how to do this, and you were all over this, and amazing results right away. And every year's just been bigger and better.
Yeah, every year's been bigger and better. I was going through things, and I was like, here's a picture of me walking my daughter door to door in 2014. Here's me.
I want to make sure everyone understands that. What Blake's talking about is he's cold calling, before he gets involved with us, pushing his daughter around, like 6 a.m. in the morning before it gets too hot. You're pushing your daughter around in her stroller whilst door knocking.
Yep.
So you pull up to the door, knock on the door, take your daughter to the next house.
Yeah, I had to. I had no choice.
And that's how you were getting business. And then
I was trying. It wasn't getting much business, but I was trying because I felt like if I just did activity every day, something would happen. It wasn't methodical activity. It was just activity in general. So it was like, okay, if I do this, hopefully I will get an appointment because I have to make money. So I have to work hard every single day. But it's like being in a hamster wheel. You just keep running and running and running and running, and hopefully.
And I think that's important because you work so hard and you came really from this place of desperation that when you attended my event and you were given the tools, you appreciated that opportunity and you realized the tools that you had in your hand and you took full advantage of that.
Absolutely. I always tell people in moments of decision, your destiny really is shaped. And quite honestly, Craig, had I not made a decision to come to a super conference and like actually be taught by you everything in that book, I a lot of times I don't think about that time simply because I don't want to know what the other side would have been, the other road had I taken actually not coming. Because the road that I walked down, actually coming to the event, everything changed. Making hundreds of thousands of dollars. 2 years ago, breaking $1 million in commissions.
That's a huge milestone.
Oh my God. To this year, getting close to $2 million in commissions and fulfilling the life stream I have. I mean, I'm about to go, on stage and talk to people and show them actual photos. I updated it. I'm showing them actual photos from 2014, walking door to door, 2015, getting that award from you, 2016, you and I are on stage in Vegas, you know what I mean? With Tony Robbins is coming up, with us, and we're talking to all these real estate agents and mortgage guys. And from 2017, 18, traveling with you to talk to real estate agents all across the world. And then I get to get married. And I found the love of my life during that time and got to have the wedding of my dreams. And here we are now living the life that you couldn't even imagine. It's everything changed because I got a really good mentor and got the blueprint for real estate success.
That's an amazing timeline and very powerful demonstration. I'm very glad you're going to share that with everybody. Let's talk about what you and I want to accomplish with these podcasts. Why are we doing these? How are these going to be different than anything else that's being done in the industry right now?
Yeah, so for all of our listeners, Craig and I got together and we talked about how do we get more information about the blueprint that we've built here of real estate success. How do we get this information out to not just thousands of real estate agents, but millions of real estate agents across the world? How can we share our information? And we identified to get our podcast out there, to actually shoot the Craig Proctor podcast and not only provide informational content on each and every one, content that agents can go back to their office and apply to start changing their lives, but we're going to be interviewing millionaire real estate agents on the cast. So you don't just hear it from me and Craig, you're going to be hearing it from millionaire agents all across North America.
You know that the key is so much gets lost in translation. Blake and I want to bring the best ideas, concepts, and methodologies directly from the mouths of the most successful real estate agents in the industries. Too many times in the real estate industry is what's actually works is being filtered. It's being translated. It's based on opinion or hearsay or what somebody read in a book. I mean, most of the real estate trainers have never even sold real estate. They've never even had a real estate license. Go through your news feed on Facebook. Everybody's a real estate expert. Everybody's spewing their opinions on success, although very few of them have had any real success. So we're going to identify the most successful real estate agents in the industry. We're going to be interviewing them. We're going to give you direct access so you can hear directly from their mouths what they're doing, what's actually working, what hasn't worked for them. And I'm really excited about organizing this and getting this information out to an industry that's been very good to me.
And what's great about it is a lot of the guests that we're talking to, people inside of our inner circle, they're willing to, they're amazing givers. And they're willing to give information out, not only on the podcast, but also downloadable links, places that our listeners can go to.
To genuinely help people.
Yeah.
I mean, we really do have the greatest shares. I hear that all the time. People say, Craig, I was involved with another coaching organization. I was involved in another company, and nobody wanted to share. The Craig Proctor members are the greatest sharers, and I'll tell you why that is. Because they're so successful, they live in abundance. They don't have this attitude that, if they help you, that somehow that's going to limit them. It's the opposite. They're confident in their ability. They're sharing with you exactly what they're doing because they understand there's enough room for us all to be successful.
Yeah, and the thing is, it all comes from the leadership. You shared your life's work with, however many thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people over the years, and it has affected such great change. My life is just one example, one little blimp on the radar, and of course, why wouldn't I want to continue to share that with more people because of how much it's changed my life? I'm living a lifestyle that I could never even imagine. And now I'm having to imagine it because it's like, okay, if I don't think it's real, it's not. So you better make it real. But you've done that with so many people. And so we continue that legacy on by continuing to give back to others. And it's going to be a fun ride. This is going to be a fun ride.
Well, I can tell by the smile on your face, you absolutely love this. He does. Tell us, you've done a few interviews while we've been here in Anaheim. Who have you interviewed, and what does that process look like?
Yeah, so I've been doing some interviews. We've got people lined up. Some of the interviews are coming up after this. So we've got interviews with Nathan Clark, Rhode Island's #1 real estate agent. We've got interviews with John Reeves, San Diego County, California's #1 real estate agent. Rudy Kasuma. Last year, Rudy was the #1 RE/MAX team leader in California, the I think 3 or 4 team leader in the country.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we've got interviews lined up. Lester Cox sold over 7,000 homes in his real estate career. We've got Jim Buttrell, one of the #1 real estate agents in his county. So that's why I say these people that are lined up to come onto the show and talk, these aren't guys and gals selling 100 houses or 150 houses. These are people who are at the top of their respective game. We've got a lot of people lined up, Craig, that are in the top 100. That's right, top 100 in the nation based off the Wall Street Journal rankings.
Folks, these are the people you want to listen to. If you want to be successful at anything, find people that are super successful doing the thing that you want to do. That's our objective here, is to lose the filter. We want you to hear directly from the very top real estate agents all over the world. And Blake and I will become better at interviewing them as well. I mean, we're going to become better at asking questions. But we just want to be the conduits. We want our guests to do the talking. We're going to be asking them questions. We're trying to find the gold, to find the nuggets, and we're very excited. We're also open to your suggestions on who we should interview and questions asked, the things that you want to know.
Yep, and to do that, it's all about giving us feedback. So on your social profiles, please, go ahead and tag Craig Proctor Seminars. Let us know that you're listening, and any feedback or any questions that you want to be asked by that person or in future interviews, you just got to let us know. So let us know through your social profiles, Facebook and Instagram, that you're out there and that you're listening.
And the cool thing about this is we're going to have lots of you to interview, because our objective here is to make a lot of people successful. So we're going to take all the people that are successful that we can interview here. We're going to share exactly what they're doing. We're going to help you become successful, and someday maybe Blake and I will be interviewing you.
Yep. And that is the whole goal here. Get actionable items, or get items to people that they can take and input into their business immediately. Not just, some of these podcasts that are out there like, hey, you give away coffee to everyone in your farm area for free for 2 hours, or, do this with door knocking and all that. No, actionable items that you can immediately download, input into your business, place into your business, and see results. That's the whole goal here, is to help everyone on the call do more transactions to start to live the life that they want to live.
And folks, you'll be blown away by some of the things that you hear. You're gonna hear ideas that are not just ideas. You're gonna hear things that are being implemented successfully that you've never heard before. I will promise you that. You will hear things that you've never heard before. It's not the same old stuff. And there's a reason why these super successful agents are successful. Because of what they do and the way they think. And by listening to them and learning from them and implementing exactly what they do and what they think, we're very excited for you. I'm excited about this, Blake, and I want to thank you so much for stepping up to the plate and doing these interviews with me.
Absolutely, Craig. It's absolutely my pleasure.
This episode of the Craig Proctor podcast is brought to you by Salisbury Media Group, the leading real estate virtual tour and photography company in the Greater Toronto Area. We have an exclusive offer just for you, Craig Proctor podcast listeners. Use promo code CPP when booking and receive 10% off your first shoot. You can learn more about this offer and check out our work at salisburymedia.ca. Now back to the Craig Proctor podcast.
Well, Craig, you've asked me a lot about my story, but let's take a step back for a moment in case our listeners don't know about your history in real estate and all the huge accomplishments that you've had. Tell our listeners about it. Like, tell them why you were who you are, why you were the number one RE/MAX agent in the world for so many freaking years.
Yeah, well, I only got into real estate because my father was a real estate agent. You know, if he was a plumber, maybe I'd be a plumber today. But honestly, I started off with no success and no confidence and no idea as to what I was going to do when I grew up. I mean, I went to college for a year. I went to university for a year. I dropped out of both. I worked at the local hospital. I made $14,000. This was in 1987. The only way I got that job is my father got me the job. I was living at home with my parents, and I made $14,000 that year. And my dad said, "Craig, you know, you got to go to school. You got to get a job. You got to do something with your life." And I said, "Okay, great, Dad. I'm going to get into real estate just like you." My dad was a little surprised by that. He actually discouraged me from getting into real estate because he's well aware of the failure rate. He knows I've never sold anything in my life. He knows that I don't know how to market anything. He knows I've got no confidence. He knows I've got no money. So he says, just don't do it. I did the opposite of what Dad told me to do. You know, got
like most kids.
Yep, got into real estate, like I'll show you. My dad was really supportive once I made that decision, and he did the best he could do. He told me what he knew. He'd been a realtor for 20 years at the time, and he says, "This is how you do it. You make cold calls. You do open houses. You chase
traditional stuff.
Yeah, you chase FSBOs.
Yeah.
You chase expired listed. This is how to sell real estate." And failure, like you, failure wasn't an option for me. I had to succeed. Here I am now, 26 years old, living in my parents' basement. I'm broke. I've got no confidence. I have to make this work. So I worked really, really hard, like you, in that first year. I'm doing whatever it takes. I'm working 60, 70 hours a week, and it's not working. You know, it wasn't my lack of work or discipline. It's just I was not getting results, and I was getting frustrated, and I was like you, thinking there's got to be something else to do. I'm going to leave real estate.
So no sales background, no marketing background, no marketing degree, nothing like that. I mean, you went from sweeping floors to now like, okay, I'm gonna jump into real estate.
Yeah, I kind of failed my way into this, you know, really, like a lot of us, like you, like your story, right? You're working at Starbucks, and they said, "Hey, man, you got a really good personality. What are you working at Starbucks for? You should go into real estate," right? Yeah, it was really my father, was seeing my father and what he was doing. I'm thinking that looks kind of interesting. I mean, everybody in real estate drives a nice car. You know, they've got nice clothes. How hard can this be, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. So back then it was like 6 weeks to get my license. So I get my license, I get in there, and it's hard. Dad was right. This is hard, and I think I've made a mistake is what I'm thinking. So after the first year, massive failure, I'm thinking, what am I going to do? I find myself looking in the classified ads, like I got to find a job. only had a high school diploma, right?
Yep.
I got nowhere else to go. At that point, I realized I had to figure out how to make real estate work. So I attended a seminar in Los Angeles on direct response marketing. And no one at the seminar was a real estate agent. They were from all different industries.
Really? No one there's
Nobody
you
there.
were the only guy.
Only guy there was a real estate. And what I discovered at this seminar was that there are gazillions of businesses outside of real estate that sell all this product, all these services, and cold calling does not exist. Now, coming from a guy that hates cold calling, this was like music to my ears. So I'm very excited. I'm inspired. I take this information and I go back and I try to implement what other industries are using into my real estate business. And it starts to work right away. I'm now starting to generate leads. Like I always thought I would be pretty good when I'm in front of a buyer that wants to buy or a seller that wants to sell. I just didn't have any at-bats, right? But now the leads are starting to come to me. So for the very first time in my life, buyers and sellers are starting to contact me. That was easy. I learned exactly what to say to the buyers and sellers to, convince them to meet with me. And I became pretty good with my listing presentation and my buyer presentation. And in very short order, I cannot keep up with all the buyers and sellers I have. Like it was very normal for me on a Saturday or a Sunday to list 6 or 7 homes per day. I'm talking about like every hour on the hour, I'd have a listing appointment, one at 9 a.m., one at 10 a.m., one at 11 a.m. So this is what happens in the second year. I sell 155 homes in my second year of selling real estate by myself, which causes another problem. Now I'm completely burnt out. And I realized I got to get some help. So I hired my first licensed assistant and trained her on how to do what I was doing. I developed this little system for generating leads and for working with buyers and working with sellers. So I hire my first agent. I teach her exactly what I do and what I say. And now she's soon, in short order, able to get the same results that I'm able to get. In the third year, I'm named the #1 RE/MAX agent in the entire world for commissions earned. Now you got to think about this. Here's a guy that's got no confidence. Okay, I'm pretty good at quitting and failing at things. I've dropped out of college. I've dropped out of university. I'm living in my parents' home. I've had no success in the first year of my real estate.
Yeah, so stop right there for our listeners real quick. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but a lot of our listeners are not having success right now in their real estate career. They're, this is their first year. They're doing maybe 3, 4, maybe 6 or 7 transactions, somewhere in that range. Your first year was a failure. You didn't just come in and take over your dad's family business. You didn't just come in and just crush the world year one.
My first year was a lesson on what not to do in real estate, man. I mean, I tried and I worked and I was frustrated. And that's a bad, I can relate to real estate agents. No matter where you are in your business right now, whether you're kind of starving to death and you're struggling, you don't know what to do, or whether like my second year in business, I'm now selling 155 homes, but I'm a solo agent. So the money's there, but I'm working all the time and I've got no life. I've been there too. And then I start to grow with this team. I was, as far as I'm aware, the first real estate agent in North America to hire a team. I mean, brokers had licensed agents that worked for them, but real estate agents didn't do that. So that just made sense to me. Once I had an overflow, I couldn't handle all the listing appointments and buyer appointments. So I started to scale this out. I started to recruit good agents. I'm looking for drop picks. The first lady I hired was only 1 year in real estate. That first year that she worked with me, she made $500,000 working with me, which we split 50-50. $250,000 for her, $250,000 for me. That works for about 6 months, and pretty soon she's coming into the office, hair's all over the place. She's like, I can't do this. I need some more help. So I hire my second agent and my third agent. Then we start hiring inside sales agents because I found when you gave the appointments to the outside sales agents, they really didn't want leads. They wanted appointments. So I hire inside sales agents, give them the leads. They're calling the leads now. And we developed the inside sales agent department. And like I said, I was named the #1 RE/MAX agent in the world. My third year, 36 months into it.
You went from 0 to hero in 36 months, from year one failing and learning what not to do, and just in 36 months of being in real estate, 24 months after that first year is completed, you're the number one RE/MAX agent in the world.
Yeah, I like to tell it this way. I went from as dumb as a pile of rocks, not having a clue as to what to do, to making more commission than any other RE/MAX agent in the world in 36 months. Now, here's what happens. People say, well, how did you get into training and coaching agents, and why did you decide to go there? Once I was named the top RE/MAX agent in the world, still in my 20s, by the way, still living at home with mom and dad, I'm getting a lot of attention in the press, within the real estate industry and outside the real estate industry. People want to know, how the hell is this kid who's in his 20s, who's only been in real estate for 36 months, how is he making millions of dollars a year? How is he the top RE/MAX agent in the world? So agents now are approaching me and they say, I want to shadow you. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. They're like, we just want to follow you around. I'm like, I don't know if I'm really interested in that. They said, we'll pay you. I said, okay, well, what would you pay me? $2,000 a day. So I'm like, all right. So you just want to follow
Absolutely.
me? You just want to follow me around? And so they started to come and they would follow me around. And I remember one of the first guys to pay to follow me around, guy's name was Bob, and Bob was from Cleveland. So I've got a couple of listing appointments that day, and I call my sellers and I say, hey, I've got this guy, Bob from Cleveland, and he's following me around. He wants to learn what I'm doing. Would it be okay if he just sat in the corner of your kitchen as an observer? Well, I kind of like this because the sellers are thinking, well, we're interviewing other agents, and the other agents we're interviewing, they didn't have
a lot of credibility.
Yeah, they didn't have some guy named Bob from Cleveland following them around. So it gave me some added credibility when I was in front of my clients, and people would pay to come and watch what I was doing. So, it was a nice extra source of income, because pretty soon I had, about 3 or 4 times a week, I had agents from all over North America paying me a couple $1,000s a day to follow me around. So it was a nice little side business. But here's what was huge. This is when I realized that all my success had nothing to do with Craig Proctor, the person. It had everything to do with this system, because the agents that would come and spend a day with me were going back to their respective marketplaces, and they were starting to experience the same huge successes that I was having. I knew I was onto something. The one-day shadow programs quickly turned into 3-day conferences. Today, we call them a super conference. In fact, Blake and I are at one right now in Anaheim, California. These 3-day conferences are unlike anything else in real estate. We go from 8:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night for 3 days. The reason I started the conferences is in one day, you really don't have a lot of time to share everything with somebody. And I thought, well, what if I was to spend 3 days with an agent? Mm-hmm. And so we started doing the 3-day super conferences back in 1995. Now, Blake, when I started doing these, I had everyone come to my hometown in Toronto. And what happened is, in my hometown, we outgrew the meeting space in the local hotels. So we started doing them at larger downtown hotels. And then by 2003, we had the SARS epidemic that hit Toronto. Toronto was one of the cities that was affected. And I had a conference booked for May of 2003. We had to move that conference to Phoenix, Arizona, and boom, that's when the Craig Proctor business really took off. Just population, we moved this to the US. A lot of people that didn't know who I was were exposed to me. Now, this whole time, by the way, I'm still the top agent for RE/MAX, or one of the top 4 or 5 agents in the world for RE/MAX. I mean, I'm doing this year after year after year. So I've got this thing built up now where I'm selling 500 or 600 homes a year. I'm working now less than 20 hours a week in my real estate business because I've delegated much of the work, and I'm now basically riding 2 horses. Not only do I have this successful real estate business going on in my hometown, but I'm also getting really deep in coaching and training and doing seminars with agents. We've got now 10, 15,000 agents every year coming out to our events.
So you're the number 1 RE/MAX agent in the world, and simultaneously coaching, mentoring, and guiding thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of real estate agents throughout North America on how to duplicate the blueprint that you've made.
Correct. Now add one more layer, because I'm doing the real estate stuff at a high level, 500, 600 homes a year. I'm doing massively coaching and training and seminars all over North America. The third layer is I'm married with 3 kids. So I'm trying to spin all these 3 plates, right? And so you got to be pretty organized. And this is one of the things I teach real estate agents, because people are saying, I don't have time. How do you have time? You've got to really be organized to pull this off. So I'm creating like this perfect day for myself, this perfect week, because I want to spend time with my wife. I want to spend time with my 3 kids. I got to keep my real estate business going, which is going to require about 20 hours a week. And my real passion now is teaching other real estate agents how I've successfully done this. So that's the expanding business, and that's my passion. People say, well, Craig, you already made lots of money. Why do you do this? Why do you travel all over the world teaching real estate agents how to do what you did? I sold 10,000 homes in the 22 years that I was a real estate agent. 10,000 homes. My average commission was, say, around $10,000. 10,000 homes times $10,000.
That's a lot of money.
That's $100 million, okay? So I'm not doing this for money. I'm passionate about this. Those 10,000 homes I sold, I did a good job. I got lots of referrals. I had people that come up to me they'd see me at the local mall or whatever. Hey, Craig Proctor, you did a great job. But I didn't change anyone's life. Okay, and I want you to hear me on this. The fulfillment I get every day in coaching and training and leading real estate agents is I get people coming up to me every day saying, Craig, what you shared with me, what you taught me, your system, it changed my life. I mean, it saved my marriage. It gave me more time with my children. I've got my health back. I can go on the vacation. I can do the things that so that's what really drives me. That's what I'm passionate about. I love this side of it. The teaching, the training, the mentoring, helping other people do the thing that I did. And again, wherever you are right now, you're listening to this, I've been there. I've been the guy with no confidence. I've been the agent working real hard, doing all the things they told me to do. Just like you, Blake. You got into the business, you did everything they told you to do, okay? And I found success. I learned, I studied. You want to be successful, folks. Find somebody that you respect, that's being successful, and copy them. Just find people that are doing the thing that you want to do and emulate what you're doing. And that's all we do here. We have a system. The Craig Proctor system is a system. A lot of people think about real estate coaching. Oh, what is coaching? Is coaching advice? Yeah, it can be. Is it ideas? Yeah, it could be random ideas. Is it accountability? Yeah, it can be. But what we train you on is a system. There's a systematic way to do this. What do I mean by that? There's a system to generate the leads. Okay, you were all over that system, Blake. When you realized how easy, inexpensive, and effective, smart, modern lead generation was, you were all over it. That changed everything for you overnight. But we also have a system for how to reach the leads, how to convert the leads to an appointment. What do I say at that listing appointment? What do I say on that buyer appointment? I had no idea. I mean, how many of you listening to this right now, your listing presentation maybe in the beginning is the wing it presentation, right? I show up, I'm enthusiastic, I'm excited, I think I've got an okay personality, but I really didn't know what to say. But through trial and error, I figured this out, right? Some of the words that come out of my mouth during the listing presentation, they work, they seem to be well received. Other things that I say fall on deaf ears. So over the years, it was a matter of remembering what really works, putting those things in the right order, experimentation, because I was always fascinated by the marketing aspect of this. Like, what ads are going to resonate with the buyers? What words that come out of my mouth are going to be more effective than other words? So there really is a science to this. And when you get this up and going, real estate can be the biggest gift. It can serve your life and enable you to do the things that you really want to do. But done incorrectly, real estate can be a trap. Real estate can close out all the light in your life. And I've been in all those different places. And these podcasts that Blake and I are doing are designed to help you understand what I did, what Blake did, and what the very top real estate agents all over North America are doing. We know them. They're our students. They're gonna be with us. They're gonna share exactly what they did. We want to motivate you, but we want to give you real world ideas that you can take after listening to these podcasts, and you can implement right away and say, hey, you know what? It works. We want to get involved. We want to be part of this.
Yep. And for all of our listeners out there, we're going to be going through live interviews with some of North America's top real estate team leaders and agents. We've got a lineup that consists of...
People talk about the top, we've got the top real estate. These guys really are the top. We're not saying like top, they sell 50 homes, top, they sell 100. These people are making millions and millions. They have real businesses, okay? These are like Sarah Reynolds is the #1 Keller Williams agent in the world. I think she makes like $1 million a month.
Yeah. We've also got Nathan Clark, #1 real estate agent in the entire state of Rhode Island. We've got John Reeves coming on the show, #1 real estate agent in the entire county of San Diego. These guys have taken the blueprint that you've laid out, implemented, and had massive success. And for all of our listeners, this was the whole purpose of putting together this podcast. Craig and I came together and said, if we can provide information to not just tens of thousands of people, but millions of real estate agents all around the world, think of the amount of lives we can change. And so you're going to hear throughout these interviews, they're going to be talking about their stories and how they got connected into real estate, what their experience was in real estate before getting connected with your blueprint, then how it's changed their lives. And every single one of the people coming on the show is going to be providing some piece of information that you can take back and implement into your business immediately, folks, that you can start to see results. Craig, I'm a big podcaster, love listening to podcasts. And it's kind of funny because I'm always looking at different real estate related podcasts. And I've listened to them now over and over, different ones. And it's always about motivation. And that's great. There are some agents.
You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it.
Yeah. Get up an hour earlier.
And you should go do an open house this weekend and so on and so forth.
Make 5 more calls.
But this show is designed to give you real life material that's being used, information and material that's being used from the top agents around North America that you guys can take, download, implement, and start to see results, just like I told you.
You know what? You're very, very diplomatic here, man.
Yeah.
What Blake is saying to you is, we think the information out there, honestly, we think it's weak. We do. We think it's weak. We want to give you stuff that you go, wow. And we want to give you the specifics on how to do it. You see, there's lots of generalists out there. You can do it. Get up earlier, make 5 more phone calls. That's not going to help you. What you need the specifics to actually be able to go do some of these things. So we want to be that conduit. We want to go around the filters. A lot of this information is being filtered. A lot of what you're hearing is from trainers that have never sold real estate. They've never had a buyer in the car. They've never sold a stick of real estate. They have no experience. They haven't been in the trenches. Look, I believe that if someone's going to help you, they need to kind of understand you at some level. Blake and I and everyone we interview is in the trenches here in real estate. We're not talking about what we heard, what we read in a book, what somebody else told us. We're talking about what's really working here at the highest level in the real estate industries. A lot of this stuff gets filtered and you don't get to hear directly from the source. So this is the conduit. We're going right from the top agents right to you, and you can hear this every single week.
Well, yeah, you heard it from the man right here. You heard it. Every week you're going to be getting the content that you guys are wanting and the content that you're going to be able to take back and start to transform your life. So, Craig, it's a pleasure not only being on this first, the very first podcast that we're doing, but it's a pleasure to be co-hosting this with you moving forward as we get to change the lives of millions of real estate agents all around the world.
I love it. Tune in next time, folks. Thanks for listening to us.
All right, that's a wrap. And you've been listening to the Craig Proctor Podcast.